if you're willing to drive here 3 hours, if you're willing to leave your husband to come here, leave your wife to come here, if you're exhausted and yet you're trying to remain awake, you have some serious stuff going on inside you. It doesn't mean it's bad, but it means you're living with a certain set of curiosities. They are intense. They are troublesome. You know, sometimes they give you nightmares. You know, and you have to honor those things. You know, I mean, it's not easy. I mean, I'm 60. I mean, it's difficult for me to drive to Roseville. I've done it twice this week to fix the car wash. So when someone comes here, you know, 3.5 hours away and 3.5 hours going back, you know, there are things inside people. You know, some of it is good, some of it is bad, but they need to be talked about. Maybe not in a social setting, maybe privately, you know. And I think it's good to understand them, regardless of how horrifying it may be. You know, I saw this video clip this morning. I don't know, it was called like Professor Pencil. And so this old man is sitting behind the table and is holding a number 2 pencil. You know, and he says, human beings and human life is like a pencil. You know, so he begins to sharpen the pencil with a pencil sharpener. And then he says, well, you know, sharpening a pencil is painful. You know, which means that if you want to be a sharp, clever human being, you have to be sharpened, and it's painful. You know, and you write, and when you put this pencil to a paper and you write, just in case you make a mistake, you can always repent because there is an eraser. But if you look at the paper very closely, you'll see your writing. It may not be very visible, but it's there. The engraving is there. And the most important aspect of the pencil is what's inside it. The charcoal. And what protects the charcoal is the wood on the outside. You know. I mean, he doesn't go into detail as to how difficult it is to erase a decision you made that made your life disastrous. I mean, this is really not about Allison, but since she's here. You know, I met her through her mom at the age of 23. The first thing I told her, you got your psych major from Davis, the BA, get your master's. Don't stop. You know what she did? She went to Sac State. School is not fun. It doesn't inspire positive emotions. Most of the instructors are dumb. Okay? The classes are boring and lifeless and mind-numbing. We all know that. I said, Allison, just 2 years, man. Just stay in it for 2 years. That's all it takes, 2 years. You know, just shut your mouth. Put a lid on your emotions. Just 2 years. She went with her feelings but not thinking. She allowed the feelings to dominate her. It took her about 15 years. You know, she began to erase some things, okay, write different things, but the things that she has erased, they are in her memories now. You know, the things that she had written, they led to certain consequences, certain conclusions. And all of us are like that. It's really difficult to write something intelligent. It's really difficult to erase something that you have done that's stupid. It's really difficult to suffer the ways life sharpens us. You know? I mean, these are painful things. It's no good walking to a class or having a workshop telling people to get excited because they're going to grow and get better. It's painful. You know? My apologies. It's really not about any of that. You know, I think if you want to be a relatively healthy human being, whether you're a man or a woman, whether you have masculine or feminine emotions, there are certain facts that you can't overlook. You have a physical body, you have five senses, you live in a specific geographical location. For you, that's America. America is all meat and no spirit. Expect to go to work, okay, where your spirit will be sucked out of you. You'll come back home completely poor. You need to know that about your society and how it impacts you. Which means that you need to be clever enough and have enough power to situate your physical body in an environment that gives you at least a little bit of spirit, that will protect a little bit of your soul. So when you go home, there is something to be proud of, to work with, to have some creative energy inside you. You know? Because if you don't know the social world, then you'll begin to create fantasies. And that's not going to work well for you, for any of us. You know, that our culture no longer gives us specific rules. You know, it's what you experience on a daily basis. Things are very fluid. Are you a man or a woman? Well, I'm very fluid. Well, are you like hetero or homo or lesbian? No, I'm very fluid. I can do whatever. Well, what does that mean? I'm very fluid. I mean, like this a couple of days ago, they asked this this nominee for the Supreme Court. You know, the question is ridiculous, but nevertheless, there is some merit to the question. Can you define what a woman is? Well, what can you say in a culture that no longer can define anything well anymore? Because if you say a woman is simply a collection of body parts, someone will say, well, don't you believe that it's possible that some people are born in the wrong bodies? That means, as a judge, are you going to be discriminating against that group of people? Well, that's a checkmate. I mean, you don't want to put yourself in that situation. You know, there was a time where that question, first of all, would never be asked, and if it was asked, you could say a woman, you know, has this and this and this that makes a woman, and that'd be fine for the committee. But these days, no. You know, and it's good to know that society is not going to give you a specific stage to play on, which means that you have this burden, this horrifying burden of figuring out where you belong. You know, it's a funny thing. Sophia is talking, she comes home. Yeah, Christina is going to marry Bobby, and I'm going to marry Johnny, and Johnny's going to marry, like, whatever. She's 6. I mean, in some ways, it's really, I mean, first it's scary for someone at the age of 6 to come home and says, I'm going to get married. In some ways, it's really good that she's becoming conditioned that as a human being, you are going to get married. You know. So, are you married? No, I have a domesticated partner. Well, what the hell does that mean? It means I have domesticated a human being and he or she will never leave. You know. It's a really difficult situation, you know. You know why my parents sent us to India? One simple reason. Once you get your schooling done, you come back home, your father has a job waiting for you. You know. It's not going to be an extension of your soul. You don't have a soul. You're just a job. You know, here, you go to school, you get your degrees. Now you have to like a vulture, go all over the place looking for a job. No one helps you here for anything, whether it's finding a companion, getting a good job, you know, knowing what right and wrong are. You have to figure everything on your own. And it really is too much, you know. And then you also live in a place where, say, well, feeling guilty is bad, feeling fear is bad, feeling doubt is bad. Okay, be confident, be positive. It makes no sense, you know. You know, it's like, you know, they have you swim in pornography and say, well, don't have any sexual thought. Really? You know, the culture gives you nothing and yet expects everything. You know, I always just hate with passion when I watch people going to the microphone and asking these new age teachers, like, there is so much anger inside me, what should I do? And the guy says, well, don't desire. When you don't desire, well, you have no attachment. You are angry because you're attached. Don't be attached. Next.
And that creates a lot of anger.
And the guy, of course, you know, when you live in a culture where everybody has been dumbed down, the guy says, oh my God, that's a genius answer. I'm going to go home and just, you know, not be attached anymore. You know, and someone needs to say, well, you're angry, yes? Yeah, I'm hella angry, man. Okay, well, look, how much do you know about capitalism? Nothing, I hate Karl Marx. Well, I didn't really ask you about Karl Marx. I asked you how much you know about capitalism. Well, I love Costco. Well, that's good for you, but I was asking how much you know about capitalism. Not much. Okay. Well, how much do you know about secularism? What was that? Secularism. S-E-C-U... is it Latin? No, goddammit, it's English. How much you... Well, not much about that. Okay, fine. Well, what do you do? Well, I lay bricks. Well, okay. So you're a mason. I am. Well, is your body tired? Yeah, it's exhausted. I feel like crap. Okay, great. Are you married? Yes. How long? Been married for 20 years. Are you happy? No, I'm miserable. Well, do you know much about relationships? Well, yeah, I got married to be happy. Oh, okay. So what is happiness? I'm not here for that. I'm telling you I'm angry. Okay. So do you have children? Yeah. Well, do you love them? I love them, but I don't want to see their faces anytime soon. Well, do you know what happens when, like, you get married and you have children and you have a job and the wear and tear on your, you know, the physical, the emotional, the intellectual, the spiritual bodies, that you're just a walking corpse. Do you understand all of that? Yeah, well, do you have friends? Yeah, we get high sometimes, we drink and get drunk sometimes. Well, those are really not the best friends you could have. Do you know why you drink? Yeah. because it's fun. No, it's liberation. It's freedom. Oh, I don't need to be free. I'm an American. I am free. The land of the free and the brave. Yeah, I know, but all the stuff you were telling me, you hate your wife, you hate your kids, you hate your job, you hate everything about your life. That's the reason you drink, because you hate yourself. No, I love myself, but I have fits of anger. I mean, that's how you need to approach things. And the guy says, well, damn, I'm really embarrassed to even come to the microphone and ask. You know what? I'm just never going to ask any question from this fellow again. I was angry, but now I'm enraged. So the point is, the more you know about where you live. When you read The Art of War, or when you watch the movie The Last Samurai, what they do is they kind of begin to explore who the enemy is, how much power they have, what exactly is it that they can or can't do. And then they situate themselves accordingly to defend and then to attack. If you have this idea, and some may say it's the wrong idea, but let's just say it. If you think that life is your enemy, okay, you need to really understand it well. Because if you don't understand it, you won't be able to defend yourself. Understand relationships really, really well. Understand money really, really, really well. Because if you don't, then you won't know what to do with privilege, abundance of money, and you won't know what to do with poverty. And fluff is not going to help you. Philosophy classes are not going to help you. Our conversation is not going to help you. The real work is really just on you. Where you kind of have to go home and kind of just figure out, okay, what should I do? And the truth is, it's something I've always told, people, is it make friendships. Because you can't fight this enemy by yourself. It's too powerful. You can sit and read the dialogues of Plato or the Gospels for an hour, for maybe 2 hours. But if there's two of you together, you can read for 2 hours, then you can cook and talk about the Gospel for 2 hours, and you can read. Then you can sit and eat the food and talk for 5 hours. And you spend like 10 hours together. That's a good life. But my observation in the past few years, nobody can make good friendships. It's like another poverty we have to deal with. It makes no sense. No one can do anything right. I keep telling people, you can't do this on your own. Find friends, and they assume that like having a text conversation or a phone conversation or once in a month dinner gathering is going to be helpful. That's no friendship. You can't do anything with that. But, the truth is, nobody has time. Everyone in this room teaches. Everybody in this room lives 5 or 6 hours away. Everybody in this room has their own troubles. And that's, another poverty that this culture creates. And I think it really is just too many things on the shoulders of a human being. I think it's good, for people to kind of see that, understand that, and then be a little kinder to themselves. Just in case your relationship, runs into difficulties. Well, that's how it is. If you find yourself alone in the relationship, well, that's how it is. If you walk in the classroom and things don't go well, you say, well, that's how it is. You have good understanding as to why things are the way they are. If on the other hand, you kind of just casually approach these things and you walk into a relationship and things go bad, well, you say, well, that wasn't what I expected. I have a master's or a PhD of all these degrees. I need to go into the classroom and shine. Well, why do you expect that from yourself? I was telling my brother, I went to the car wash, I think on Sunday or Monday, and we have a great relationship with our parents. And on the drive back from the car wash, I was telling him, Dad is 90, Mom is 80. They've been together for about 70 years, 60 years, And I said, I hope that one day they sit in the car, drive to Oakland, and get run over by an 18-wheeler, and they both died together at the same time. Because in case my dad dies, then my mom is going to be broken. She's going to be shattered. How do you let go of a relationship that's been good, really good for about 60 years? How do you let go of the memories? You've laid next to this man that you have loved, for 60 years. Now you go home, you go to bed, and there is no one laying next to you. How the hell do you deal with that trauma? And it is a trauma, And I don't know if it's a good thing to say, bad thing to say, good thing to think about, or a bad thing to think about. But, all I know is that it's an honest way of looking at your parents and their age and how difficult it is to lose someone that you have adored for 60 years. What is the best way to go? Should they both go at the same time? Should one go? How do you want them to die? One gets dementia, is sent into a nursing home. Should one die slowly, gradually, miserably, or should just one die quickly? These are things that mature people need to think about. You want to what? Sugarcoat what? For what purpose? And I think since, we sit here and you like playing with these ideas, there is nothing wrong with really approaching these ideas with great seriousness. If you come here Thursdays, there is something wrong with you. Don't deny that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's good to be troubled in the right way. It's good to be a Plato in love with Socrates, because Socrates is a great guy to be in love with. He makes you better, but he also pains you. I don't know the end result of all of these reflections, but I know you can't survive without them. You'll make a mess of your life.